I think most people know this by now, but in case you don't, I really like musicals. Whether they be animated or live action, sometimes both, I just can't help but smile at them. It's just the kind of entertainment that makes you feel good. The same pretty much goes for another genre that I like, comedies. So, when you combine those two genres, as Schmigadoon does, naturally, one would think it's a perfect fit, right? Well, kind of. It's complicated. Schmigadoon came out this past summer on Apple Plus, and to say that I knew next to nothing going into it would be an understatement. The trailer that I saw made it look okay, and it did boast an all-star cast, so I was a little excited. The only thing I knew going in for sure was that the whole show is basically a tongue-in-cheek parody of the real-life show Brigadoon, which I only know because it was referenced in the recent musical adaptation of Beetlejuice, in which the titular character remarks,
"The Maitlands, more boring than Brigadoon." That's right, I said it. Fuck Brigadoon.
The premise of the show is basically two New York doctors, Melissa, played by Cecily Strong from SNL, and Josh, played by Keegan-Michael Key from a lot of things, go on a backpacking trip through the woods to help patch up their struggling relationship, only to end up in a magical town, the titular Schmigadoon, where everything is like a Golden Age musical, like The Music Man.
Oh, the Wells Fargo wagon, it's a-comin' now, I don't know how, I can never wait to see.
Fuck you.
They're told by a leprechaun, and just saying that out loud makes me sound really crazy, that they can only cross the bridge out of town and leave once they have found true love. So I'll cut to the chase. Did I like Schmigadoon? Yes. Did I love it? No. Let's start with characters, as in there's probably a few too many of them. Some characters get introduced, like Dove Cameron's Betsy, and are prevalent during the first half of the show, but then just get dropped and forgotten about not long after. Many even have their motivations stripped down because of how short the season and episodes are, as is the case with the villain of the show, Mildred Layton, played by Kristen Can I Please Not Be Cast in the Same Musical as Dove Cameron again Chenoweth. She's introduced as this hard Christian values antagonist against Melissa and Josh, rejecting them and their city slicker ways. Even gets a very impressive one-shot musical number, rallying their town in a frenzy over tribulation and strife. But in the next episode, she's torn down so easily, it's kind of laughable. And then it's just, oh, okay, I guess I'll be buddy-buddy with you two now. I'm reformed. Somebody hand me a tambourine. Another example is Jane Krakowski, introduced as an antagonist for Melissa in episode 5, has a fairly impressive song number, pulls a gun, calls herself a Nazi, drives off, and then poof! Her villainous subtext is completely dropped in the following episode. It does get addressed, but it's in easily the most hand-wavy of ways imaginable, as Melissa's love interest, Doc Jorge Lopez, finds her on the side of the road and proclaims that Krakowski's countess felt bad about what she did. Some characters don't even get that far. Remember that leprechaun from earlier? He's played by Martin Short. He has one single scene. And then, poof, he's gone. It's a glorified cameo that he gets billing credit for in the opening of every single episode, when he makes 0 other appearances. It's stuff like this that makes me just question why. I don't know if they wanted to do more episodes, but they had to cut back, or if this was just always their plan, and I'm just missing something. But in my opinion, character-wise and plot-wise, Schmigadoon just feels, well, basic, or bare bones, to be frank. The only time where I felt like things really gelled was Josh's subplot with the schoolmarm of the town, Emma Tate, played by Ariana DeBose. They really did click, and had amazing chemistry together on screen, to the point where at the end, where spoilers! He has to choose between Emma and Melissa, I actually wanted him to cross the bridge with Emma instead. And it seems like I wasn't the only one. I don't know, it just felt like there was something there other than pure desperation to leave. I also feel like that would have just been a more surprising and fresh ending for the series overall, that Josh and Melissa really were not true love after all. It's like the showrunners were more interested in making references to other Golden Age musical for style points and making flashy song numbers than telling a complete, compelling story. Speaking of, let's briefly discuss those musical numbers. The music in Schmigadoon is mixed. Some songs I think were great, such as the opening town number introducing all of the characters who live in it. The aforementioned Tribulation and Strife song also works well as a nice homage again to the Music Man, with Harold Hill singing about trouble in River City. Even the mayor of Schmigadoon, a closeted homosexual played by Alan Cumming, has a sweet little number called Somewhere Love Is Waiting For You that gets reprised a few episodes later when he comes out to the town as gay. But then you just have numbers that I would generally consider to be padding. Like, did we really need a whole 2-minute song dedicated to corn pudding? Sure, they sound nice, and admittedly are a little catchy, but do they serve any purpose? Do they push the story forward in any meaningful way? Even the final number, How We Change, is kind of off, as it doesn't sound like a song from any Golden Age musical that I personally know, nor does it sound like any other number in the series thus far. It's more hearty gospel, like Let It Grow from Illumination's Lorax, which, given the fact that the songwriter for Schmigadoon also worked on that film, that maybe just makes too much sense. And again, perhaps this is just intentional and I'm just dumb. Either one wouldn't surprise me. Just to reiterate, I liked Schmigadoon. I watched it week to week. I've listened to the songs I liked a couple of times post first viewing of the episode. I liked the tips of the hat and subtle nods to musical theater tropes, and even movie musical effect techniques. That stuff is done really well for those who know it, but they also are not distracting for those who don't. It's just in the end, I think that the sum of Schmigadoon's parts are greater than its whole. The reason for why boils down to how they chose to make this story as a series. In my honest opinion, Schmigadoon would have worked a hell of a lot better as just a 90-minute film, because then they would have been forced to bunker down and trim the fat, drop characters and plot lines that they didn't want to elaborate on, and allow the things that they did to breathe and develop more, leading to a more satisfying conclusion. I know some people out there may ask why I am seemingly being harsher and more critical of Schmigadoon than I was to something like Monsters at Work. Didn't I say that as long as the show entertains and makes people happy or smile, that's enough? Well, yes, I do still stand by that, but I think that it has to do more with potential. Schmigadoon's premise and talent behind it gave the series infinite potential to be something great. A modern-day musical theater parody like Enchanted was to Disney animated musicals. Monsters at Work's only potential was to not be another entry into the milking of a franchise for all it's worth club. I just don't think Schmigadoon reached the bar of potential I thought it had for me personally. It touches it at times, but never quite crosses it. If it does for you, great. I'm personally happy you were able to see things in this show that I couldn't right now. Would I recommend Schmigadoon? If you like musicals, yes, I do think you would enjoy it. But if you don't, I don't think this would sway you that much. But then again, maybe that wasn't its mission. If Schmigadoon gets a season 2, I will gladly check it out. But for now, this was a one and done for me. And there you go, guys. Those were my quick thoughts, or semi-quick, of Schmigadoon, now streaming on Apple+. If you've seen the show, let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. And until next time, later.